Ooh, so M. Night Shyamalan. All right, so this is gonna be old. It just came out. Um, what is it like on Friday? I think so. This is my first time going back to the theater. I'm pretty sure, at least in a while, if not when the pandemic started. I think so. So it's M. Night Shyamalan. I was like, I have to see how bad this is gonna be. So I'll say how I feel about it in a second. But it's about a family. The parents are kind of going through some issues. It starts off with that they're on vacation. Mysteriously, I guess they just kind of like found this place, and it seems kind of perfect. So clearly, you can tell something's going on here. There's another family that's also there. The father's a doctor, and then there's this other couple. The woman has like seizures and things like that. So there's some kind of medical problem with like with an individual in those groups. So they go out. M. Night Shyamalan himself takes them out to a part of the island on this beach, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll come and get you," you know. And then he goes to go get some. He went to go get the other couple because the two families got there first. So as they're playing on the beach, they end up a finding a woman's body, and then that's where things start to go off the rails. And then there's this other character. I think he was a rapper. He's there and he's bleeding from the nose, and that's how things kind of get started. I'm not gonna spoil too much of this, but I guess this might be pretty obvious by the title that out of nowhere things start happening, and the kids in those groups actually are somehow older. Like I think the boy in the main family, and then the other one of the daughter of the other family. They're six when it starts out, and then all of a sudden they look like they're in their maybe their preteens or something like that, or 11. And the oldest daughter is looking older too. So there's something weird going on with the island, and they're trying to figure out what it is and to also get off of it. This is a silly ass movie. um, I was laughing throughout most of it. It was giving me the happening vibes, kind of, where he's clearly trying to be tense or trying to have some like scares, but it's coming off as ridiculous to the point of making me laugh. Uh, the movie's crazy as hell. Well, positives. There are some interesting things in here, especially towards the end when you find out everything that's really going on. There's some interesting thought processes in here. It's when you think about it, when you really sit back and think about it, it's really simple what's really going on here. A little bit simpler than you would even think. I mean, most of it takes place on that shore, on that beach. So there's it's shot well. There's nice camera work and shots. The beach looks pretty good. There's some nice shots of the beach, and he really tries to build tension by keeping the camera kind of moving around from character to character when they try to figure out what's going on and they're kind of freaking out. The acting is questionable. It's actually not that good, but I guess it's fine because, I mean, it's the best they can do with this material, probably. And there are some moments where, there's one moment where somebody's body starts to like break, and then because also there's this thing where people get injured and they get healed like right away. So somebody's arms are like breaking and things, and because they heal so quickly, it heals, but it heals in the way that it broke, so it was healing wrong, right? So there's some clever stuff like that in here, which is actually kind of frustrating because I feel like this movie would almost be good or potentially better if it was made by someone else. So M. Night Shyamalan is out of his fucking mind. This movie is crazy. I was sitting there and I was like, what the fuck? There's one scene where somebody gets pregnant, and the pregnancy, some things go crazy with the pregnancy. One person's losing their mind to the point where they're like randomly attacking the other people with a knife. It's insane. I don't. It's pretty obvious. You could probably tell what's really going on here based on what happened to the kids, but I don't know if I really want to say or not. I really did start laughing at it. Like people will start going crazy and screaming, or Joe dude will try to cut somebody, or or the lady that was having seizures will start having seizures, but she would stop for a second and then start having a seizure again and start foaming from the mouth. And it was so obvious that it was like over the top just acting. It didn't really feel like it was an actual character, like actually having a legitimate seizure. So that was making me laugh. I mean, it's one of the, it kind of came off as a little bit of like The Happening, where it's, he goes too far with it to the point where it's ridiculous. This dialogue is terrible. It's already bad before anything even happens. When they get on the beach and they're talking to each other, I don't know what it is with him and kids. Like there's a little bit of that in Signs where kids don't really talk like kids. Like the kids know like a little bit more than they probably should know. There's this like really like obvious foreshadowing throughout the movie where kids will ask what like they'll go down the beach asking people their name and profession, and it was so obvious foreshadowing that that's going to be something else. There's a scene towards the beginning where the daughter was singing and the mom was like, "Oh, I can't wait to see what your voice sounds like when you're an adult." And it's like, bro, it's just blatant foreshadowing. It's crazy. M. Night Shyamalan himself is actually in this movie, like I said earlier, and he's pretty bad. But I guess he doesn't have as many lines as he's given himself before. I wish he would stop giving himself like actual characters and just be, a little cameo in the background, right? Drive a taxi or some shit in one of his movies, but he feels like he needs to like be a character and he can't act. The thing that actually happens towards the end with the characters that are left, I felt like, wow, that really was that all along to get over this thing, or they have to go through a certain thing and that's it. And I was like, wow, that feels like after all I've just sat through of them constantly trying to get off this thing and or get away or figure this thing out, the thing that it turns out to be is really, really simple to the point where there's no way other people haven't figured. I guess they did mention one person, but it's crazy. It's really simple when you think about it. And I'm like, okay. And then also the thing that happens at the very end, that happens with all the people that are really doing what they're doing. I was like, dude, it just felt like it was just way too simple, and the writing just really didn't support what he was really trying to do here, because his writing is just not good. It's not good. I was laughing. I laughed at that pregnancy thing. I did. I laughed at this. Like, if you look at this as a comedy, it may work. I mean, I've seen worse from M. Night Shyamalan, and the worst about this is just that the writing is really ridiculous and silly, and the acting is pretty over the top in certain areas. So I'm not going to give him that low. I'm going to throw him a bone. I'm still going to give him a negative review, but I'm going to throw him a bone, and I'll give him a rental. I was thinking, I was like, this is going to be trash, right? But I was watching it, and I was like, you know what? There's little bits and pieces of this that I'm like, it works. Certain parts of it is clever with what's really going on this beach. Even though it's inconsistent, where like one character will be affected and then another character won't be, or they'll be affected at different times. They don't really do well with the certain aging, but regardless, that's M. Night Shyamalan's old. I'll give it a rental because he's put out such worse shit. I hated Glass, but you know what? For M. Night, I guess we're kind of maybe getting a little bit better, at least from the last movie.